is a war. It's happening now. It will decide the fate of humanity. The time to choose sides has come. We are the resistance. We are the info war. And it's all different types of radiation. I'm no engineer. I've had engineers on. I've had physicists. I've had nuclear physicists. I've had chemical physicists on. I've broken it down. And they know the cell phones are killing people. They know putting cell phone towers on top of schools are a death sentence. They don't tell you to move into an apartment building that, hey, you don't want to live on the top floor or the top few floors right underneath the cell tower. They don't want to tell you what all this is doing to you. And it's just an attitude of come out with any technology and then just deploy it. And, oh, put a smart meter on your house and let it fry you and spy on you. Dr. Doug Rockey is our guest. Doctor, is there any websites you want to put out for documentation? We've been putting a lot of the U.S. government documents on screen you've been talking about. Or is there anything you'd like to tell people about where they can learn more about what's happening? But in a larger issue, after you talk about that, I want to give you the floor to talk about whatever you think is most important, not just my questions, and to ask you about where you think this is going.
Okay, first off, you're not going to find this on your general website. You're not going to find the information on the Department of Defense or the VA website. They just don't even put it up there. The key, there's two websites that have been absolutely incredible. One is called grassrootspeace.org. Grassroots, GRASSROOTS, peace, PACE.org. And that was the original trap rock that the Quakers, Sonny Miller and Charlie Jinks, put together, and they're maintaining it. The other one where you'll find the government documents, and again, it's another documentary. I mean, we've done numerous documentaries, but Joyce Riley on the Power Hour, they have a documentary called Beyond Treason, and the BeyondTreason.com website has all these regulations, the orders, the directives, the medical corps things, all of this stuff.
Excellent documentary, and I'm just glad over the years that she's really, with Dave Von Kleiss, hammered that. So it's key for folks to check out both those sites. Now, continuing, I just talked about the cell phones, all the different types of radiation. Where do you see all this going?
Well, you have to remember, I mean, during Desert Storm, again, I had the responsibility for putting up the safety for the RF hazards and, beam gun, all this stuff, what we call it, Buck Rogers ray gun. Any RF hazard, anything where you get the dose rate is, and this is the radiation, you got to measure it, you can calculate it. Anything above 10 milliwatts per square centimeter is a total exclusion zone, 100% exclusion zone. 10 milliwatts per square centimeter, that is the total exclusion zone. So if that's the total exclusion zone, you can guarantee that the health effects thing are probably 1/100th or 1/1000th of that when it's up close. So what we do know happened, the way the RF works and everything, is not ionizing, but what it does is cause the water molecule to vibrate and fracture, and it destroys the water in the cells and everything else, the RNA, DNA, because that's all water. It just destroys it in place. So all of that stuff is known to go on forever and ever and ever. So when you stick that RF wave up there, or the military comes in, and this freaks me out because they got the new Buck Rogers ray gun that they've deployed all over the United States. They've used it in Iraq and Afghanistan. And what it is an RF microwave ray gun that's on top of both the Humvee, on top of the buildings and everything. They just beam it at somebody and cook them alive. So it's like taking your body and putting it in a microwave oven and cooking it. So we've got that out there. And we've heard story upon story where people said, all of a sudden I got burned and I got cooked and this beam was at me. Hey, it really is real and it's really happening. So we've got all of this stuff. You've got a total disregard for everything. The incredible contamination that we're seeing from military operations, whether it's research or training back here in the States, or if the installations are totally contaminated, or where we've destroyed the infrastructure of these nations and contaminated with our weapon systems, has left a catastrophe for which there is no medical care and treatment. Like when I was in medical care yesterday at the Danville VA, the agreement was all we can do, Doug, is optimize the remaining function that you have, and we got to optimize the remaining function of all the kids that are coming in here. Well, I've had a full life and a full career, but what do we do with that 22-year-old that has the function of a 70-year-old from the neuromuscular capability, is in pain, has all of these psychological problems, not from a mental illness, but from the fact that they're having a ethical and moral breakdown crisis from realizing, wait a minute, we killed and invaded this nation over total lies, and now I'm supposed to believe it and go along with it?
Again, I think it's a basic issue of sanity. And then meanwhile, the elite obsess over carbon taxes on what comes out of coal power plants, water and carbon dioxide. They obsess over how big your house is. They obsess over things like that, but then don't even care about all the real environmental crises that are going on. And then it looks like government a lot of times is the biggest polluter because they're exempt. It's just really mind-blowing. Where do you see all this going?
Well, I just hope God can make a change and get people to start changing their actions before God makes the ultimate decision and everything gets wiped out. We're seeing the slow wipeout now, as you mentioned, incredible birth defects, incredible learning disabilities, incredible respiratory, high rates of cancers. We didn't see this before. We didn't have this. And now with the better living through chemistry, better living through biology, better living through radiation, all we've done is created a medical disaster for which there is no way out. And we've got to wake up. But anytime I try to get people to wake up, they say, well, you're lying, you didn't tell the truth, you're making this all up. Until, like you, what you work with, here's the document, ladies and gentlemen. It's not one that the guys yelling and screaming trying to correct it created. It's the internal documents of the government confirming the problems that they disavow exist.
It's so frustrating. And again, it's not like we're like goody two-shoes. I mean, I think of you as a hero, but I don't think of myself. People say, oh, thank you for covering what you're covering. Thank you for not wanting them to completely destroy the planet I live on. I mean, it just seems like there's no common sense. It'd be like if your neighbor's house was on fire and there was high winds and it's going to blow over to your house, even if my house wasn't going to burn, I'd go call the fire department or throw some water on it. And it's like this attitude now. Well, statistically, I've seen it in the news that brainwaves are lower. People don't help each other as much. People don't render aid. Neighbors will watch their neighbor's house burn and not call the fire department or not call their neighbor to see if they know. It's like a jellyfish spectator thing has come upon us. And I think it's television. Since the advent of television in the 40s, we've seen just absolute degeneration of society. In countries that got it later, like in Africa in the 70s, the same pattern where people just grow up watching this, and it's not real, most of it, and so it distorts reality. You're not down the street talking to your neighbors at the soapbox. You're not involved at the PTA. Plus, the world, doctor, got so complex, I think that it's like the old legend of Atlantis, whether it's true or not. They developed technology so advanced, they destroyed themselves.
You know, we've got one of the problems, and as a teacher, and I've taught everything from kindergarten through graduate school now, and I have a lot of fun with the kids. The kids don't read. They don't read books. They don't go to the library. We'll put program after program together at the library, and I'm totally involved in that, running programs. We got snowed out here because of the snow and the ice the last couple of weeks. But it's so bad, so you can't get the kids to come there and read. They don't know their math. They're using their calculator or their computer, so they don't know their basic math facts. They can't do change when you go to the grocery store. They don't know how to multiply or divide. So therefore, when they go to get a job, whether they're a carpenter or a plumber or a car mechanic or an electrical engineer, they can't read, write, or do the math. And when you say, you know, it doesn't cost money to master this stuff. All it takes is time and effort. But somehow we keep throwing more and more dollars at it. Say, well, if we increase the salary of this teacher 3 times, all of a sudden the kids will start learning. Wait a minute. The salary of the teacher has nothing to do with the performance of the child. That's strictly, does the child want to read or write or do the effort? Do the parents maintain that they're doing it? And do the parents ensure that the kid behaves themselves when they go in the classroom? And today, at an hour class period in grade school through high school, you're lucky if you get 15 or 20 minutes actual teaching time because you've got to spend so much time on disciplined behavior and making up the stuff that they should have learned already because they didn't take the time to do it.
Doctor, thank you so much for your time. It's always good to hear from you. How are you doing medically? I know you don't like to talk about yourself, but just describe briefly what happened to you and your team around the DU and your experience. This is an important testimony to have it on record. And any other points you'd like to add?
Well, we all got sick within 24 hours of the initial cleanup, which, again, the military disavows we weren't there.
And that was the highway of death in Kuwait.
Yeah, we weren't there. but everybody got sick. The respiratory, the rashes all started. We had the first cancers in the team members within 9 months, the first death from lung cancer within 2 years, and it's continued on. The respiratory problems, the rash problems, the neuromuscular problems, spinal cord problems, kidney problems, the eye problems, the hearing problems are just staggering. And when the weather starts changing like this, the pain is just astronomical. I mean, you can't get the pain under control when temperature, barometric pressure starts changing. And, I mean, I'm lucky. I can pour stuff and I have knowledge, but this kid out here that can't get the care or doesn't know what's happened to him or doesn't have the document to shove up the doctor's wazoo can't get the care, and then they get flustered. And I had a spouse contact me right before I came on the air. Help, 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 I'm in crisis. What can you do? Can you get me help now? Well, that's what I'm working on before I called. You guys called, and what I'll work on after we get done.
Simply amazing. And that's what's frustrating when you'll speak out on a subject and everybody calls you and contacts you and you get overwhelmed and then you can't help people as much as you'd like to. And then there's this guilty feeling. Instead of feeling good about trying to do the right thing sometimes, I end up feeling bad because it's like I haven't been able to fix it. Do you ever have that feeling?
Continuously for over 40 years. I mean, you know, I remember during the Vietnam War, I bought all this off, you know, and Christmas Eve of 1970, you know, we were supposed to have all the bombing halls. Well, I'm on a B-52 dropping bombs all over, killing people all over the place on Christmas Eve. I mean, we flew into our bombing point singing Silent Night, put the bombing tape back on, recorded the mission, put Silent Night back on, continued singing Silent Night after we had just killed hundreds, thousands and thousands of Vietnamese on the ground on Christmas morning of 1970, and it's not changed. Of course, as you know, in the history books, we didn't bomb on Christmas. We didn't bomb at that time at all. Well, hey, we were there and doing it.
Unbelievable. And it just gets crazier and crazier. And you look at civilizations, they always go this way. People become decadent, then they become crazy, then they become completely out of their minds. And it's like the days of Noah with just crazy people running around in all directions. And it's just going to get worse and worse. And I'm not trying to be negative. I just absolutely wish there was some way to reverse this.
We need everybody speaking up, demanding that everybody, all of us who served in the military, get prompt and optimal medical care without any more discussion or debate, without the guy having to prove that he was there or having to prove that he got the injury. They got the medical problem. Everybody knows it was there, but now they're demanding these kids somehow prove it themselves, and the kids can't because
yeah, that's the new thing. I saw that in the news where they go, give us your medical records of where, and you're like, I don't have records of when I got shot. I was in the back of a Humvee in Afghanistan. What do you mean give me proof I got shot in Afghanistan? You're supposed to have that.
Well, one day there was a fire. I mean, we know from Desert Storm, we loaded the medical records at 3rd Medical Command at Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, into the steel connexes for shipment back to the States. When Dr. Colonel Andres Kornegeboth, Colonel Thomas Little, Dr. Thomas Little, Colonel Ulrich Bauer got there, the connexes were empty.
Yeah, and I don't know how they get the other military personnel or contractors to throw away people's medical records. See, everybody's going along with this, or a lot of people are, and folks ought to get, when you screw somebody else, that allows you to get screwed later. And it's not even some thing in the universe, though that operates as well, as you know, Doctor. It's that when you actually, the example is if there's a nice community pool you like, I don't mean to be gross here, and you go and not just pee in it, but take a dump in it, and everybody else starts doing it, is that going to be a nice pool to be in? No. And I just don't understand how the establishment is absolutely soiling everything. They're just disgusting people, Doctor.
Well, I think so. I've been trying, and all the guys I know on our team have been trying to clean it up for a long time. We're going to continue to try to clean it up, despite, you know, overt retaliations and beatings. I mean, literally, physical and psychological attacks is an ongoing thing. You've seen the evidence of it. You've seen the photographs. So it's not a question that it doesn't happen. It's just, why do they keep getting away with it? Well, the people that allow them to do it are the people in charge, so there's no accountability.
That's right. All right, Dr. Doug Rockey, thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, sir. and thank you for help and everything. We'll send you some more. We got the post-deployment physical assessment form. I'll send that to you. We need to make sure that's put up so everybody in the military, from no matter going back to World War II and beyond, can use that to get medical care.
Yeah, we should. Well, you spend a few minutes explaining what that form is. We'll do an article about it.
Yeah, I sure will.
All right, we'll talk to you again soon, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
He's a really good guy. Amazing story. And there's so many people like that out there, and they tell them they're heroes and tell them they're great, and the media tells you you're great while they're using you, and as soon as they're done, they just throw you out like trash. And everybody serving the system better understand that and better think about that long and hard so that you understand what we're facing. You know, documents came out. Doug Rocky sent them to us years ago. He got them from a general. They were leaked. It became national news when it happened, that they knew that Agent Orange was going to cause birth defects and kill the people that used it. And that they'd actually, in Vietnam, added a synthetic neurotoxin to it to get around the Geneva Convention, barring nerve gas being used. And that they'd actually added a special thing to Agent Orange over there that had a neurotoxin. It was really a chemical anti-personnel weapon. And that's what people were breathing. And it was not just killing the Vietnamese, the Viet Cong, which is bad enough. Our own soldiers were breathing that and had lesions all over their organs, their hearts, you name it. And my uncle, the doctor, said, looking at scans of his heart and stuff before he died, said, oh, we see this a lot with helicopter pilots from Vietnam, an old heart lesion, basically a mini heart attack from Vietnam. And think about it, Monsanto, who owned that, made billions. It was billions of dollars back then spraying it. And it was just a death sentence for everyone. I mean, just absolute death sentence. And undoubtedly contributed to my uncle's early demise and other problems in his family. And it's just an illustration of how this stuff affects everybody. The InfoWars crew absolutely loves coffee because we love being awake. And I am somewhat of a connoisseur of coffee. So many times you go to a restaurant or even to a coffee shop and the coffee tastes like garbage. And in all the different coffees I've tried, my favorite is grown in the high mountains, in shade, Arabica, on the border with Guatemala in southern Mexico by the Chiapas farmers. I make sure we've done the research. I make sure it's the very best product that we can offer you when I put my name on it. And I believe, and it's my taste, so you may differ, that this is the best coffee in the world from southern Mexico. Wake Up America Patriot Blend, 100% organic, Arabica shade grown. And then we have the Immune Support 100% organic coffee infused with a special type of mushroom known to boost the immunity.
This coffee is seriously so smooth. I normally have to douse my coffee with cream and sugar and cinnamon and all kinds of tasty treats, but this, I drink this black. It is so good.
Well, that's why I like it, is that it has a kick, it has really good caffeine in it, it has a good clean wake up that lasts for a long time, doesn't give me a headache, but it's so smooth, it's so delicious. Just try it out for yourself. I'm telling you, this is my favorite coffee. We went through a lot of trouble to bring you this. Just try it, and I think you'll be hooked like we are here at InfoWars. Well, folks, find out for yourself and support the information war today. It's all available at InfoWarsLife.com or by calling toll-free 888-253-3139.